Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend. Hold on. Forgot
Welcome.
to
Happy Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend.
Hold on.
Welcome. Happy Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend.
Playing, but no. Sorry, I had double volume going on there. So happy Sunday. Can you believe it's the middle of March? I am surprised because time just goes by so fast. I'm really happy that you're here. And if you're watching later, I'm so glad you found this channel, especially if you're going through the issues that the rest of us are going through that are on the channel. Tonight we're talking about something many estranged parents think about quietly. We don't tell anybody, sometimes late at night, sometimes more often than we want to admit. What would happen if they were to come back tomorrow? What would you say? What would I say? What would you feel? It's one of those questions where part of you would be thrilled as no tomorrow, and the other part of you is hesitant because of what's gone on. If you have any comments, put them in the comments box. But the deeper question, the one people don't always ask themselves, is this: are you actually ready? Because most estranged parents spend years imagining reconciliation, but very few spend time preparing for it, especially emotionally. What would it look like? And tonight we're going to talk about that. Today, we're going to talk about that slowly, honestly, and no pressure, no judgment. This is a safe place. First, I need to go over some housekeeping stuff. So before we get right into the meat of everything, if you're here live, say hello in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, drop replay so that I know you were here. If this conversation speaks to you, hit that subscribe button so that more people will get to see this presentation or this live stream afterwards presentation. And maybe they're going through it too, but maybe the algorithm is not showing my stream to them. I don't know, right? I'm hoping that the topics that I am bringing forward are things that I know I'm thinking about. Nobody's told me that they're not thinking about them, so they generally seem to be important topics. I know in other groups there are questions that come up about the topics that I'm talking about. So press subscribe, turn on notifications. There's no charge to it. I have no paywall. I'm not expecting any money from anyone. Get that straight, okay? And then share it with someone who you may know need it, right? You may have stumbled across this and you're not an estranged parent, but maybe you know one. Let them know. I spoke with somebody last night on the phone, a friend that I knew who had lost a son. And I knew there was some issues with her daughters, but I didn't know to the extent of what it was. So I'm hoping she's here today because I invited her. And I want her to know that she's not alone. And the difficulties that we go through inside don't always reflect on the outside. So we want to make sure that we're handling both sides equally. We don't end up down that rabbit hole. When I say rabbit hole, that deep, dark place, you know what I'm talking about. You've been there, I'm sure. Conversation like this reach people quietly, often when they need them the most. This is a respectful place. We don't argue. We don't debate. We don't bring up topics that are judgmental or anything like that. And we certainly don't judge anybody for anything that's gone on in their life. So if you're here, say hello in the comments and I'll say hello back. And let's start. Most estranged parents live in two emotional realities at the same time. It's kind of like being Gemini. If you're not a Gemini, Gemini has two personalities, different ways of looking at things, two different worlds. We live in one part of us that hopes every single day that they will come back. They will call, they will text, they will tell us they love us. Another part of us that quietly wonders what would actually happen if they did. Am I ready for it? Do I want it? Can I trust them? Reconciliation sounds beautiful in theory. And you know what? When my boys and I first had our big moment, most of my friends said, they'll be back. Your mom, of course they'll be back. You're the only mom that they've got. It's not so true anymore. In reality, it's layered and it's complicated. They're feeling what they're feeling, you're feeling what you're feeling, and you're not able to communicate both sides to each other so that you each understand and are able to comprehend it, work with it, deal with it, answer it. It can be an emotional, overwhelming, awkward, and deeply uncertain time. And here's something many parents don't say out loud. Sometimes the idea of their return feels safer than the reality would. The imagining feels controlled. So much has changed depending on how long you've been estranged. They're not the same people who walked out the door. They've got different lives. They've had different experiences. There's so much that has gone on in their lives that, do we even know them anymore? We recognize their face. We know the history. We remember them when they were 2, 5, and 8. Who are they now? The reality would not be what we're expecting or what we would hope for. But we're going to unpack that. So the fantasy versus the reality. Many estranged parents imagine reconciliation unfolding in a very specific way. They imagine the phone call, the apology, the emotional release, and the reconnection. Gradual return to something that feels whole again. And there's nothing wrong with imagining that. We all hope for that. But real life reconciliation rarely follows a script. Sometimes they come back quietly, almost cautiously, like they're walking on eggshells, testing the space between you two. Sometimes they come back awkwardly, unsure how to begin after so much time. Because you kind of think about that, right? When something goes on for so long, where do you start? You can't start from where you left off. Do you sit down and say, okay, tell me about the last 10 years? No. Sometimes they return defensively, like they're being pulled back, still holding their version of events tightly. There's always two sides of a story. So my version or their version, I don't know their version. In my perspective, I kind of understand what their version is, but I don't understand what's the word that I would use for it. It's why, right? Yeah, the word, whatever word I was trying to think of is not coming to me, but basically it's why. Why when I was sick? Why when I got sick? You chose to bail on me. The three people that I needed most out of anything in this world walked out the door. And I screamed and I yelled and I talked and I asked and I begged and I pleaded any way that I possibly could, all while being sick. And it didn't change a thing. But what's their version of it? Mom was crazy. Mom was whacked out. Mom was mean. She was a bitch. But for that year, and it's roughly a year, does that take away from the 19 years before that? In fact, it's more than that because 19 would be my youngest son at that time. Maybe 18. I think it was 18. Does that just negate everything? The person they loved, the person they wanted to be with, the person they ran home to talk to tell them about their day? Just all forgotten for one simple moment. And if you look at how I started today, it's March 15th already. We're already a quarter of the way through the year. It's a quarter of the way through the year of my breakdown. And it wasn't all up here. Some of it was there and up and down and up and down and good and bad and back and forth. So it I don't really have the words to explain how I look at it, but I certainly don't have the words to explain what they look at it like. So their version of the events is different. And until they tell me, I don't know. Sometimes they come back with expectations, hoping everything will simply resume. Mom will wash my clothes. Mom will cook dinner. Mom will do this. Dad will do that. I'll get money when I need it. No. It's not going to work like that. It's not so easy. That is definitely a fantasy world. It's just too much time. Unless it's a short period of time for you. For those of us who have had longer durations, it's not going to be that fantasy world. One of the hardest truths for parents to face is this: Sometimes they come back without taking responsibility. That doesn't mean reconciliation is impossible, because you can just say, agree to disagree, and let's move forward. However, it's going to come up. Something's going to happen. Things are going to be said. Agreeing to disagree doesn't stop the conversation. It just temporarily pauses it. But it does not mean it may not look like the version you imagine. So the real questions becomes not just if they come back, but what happens inside you if they do. How do you feel? How's your heart? Are you anxious? Are you nervous? Are you walking on eggshells? Are you watching every single word that you say out of fear? Ask yourself quietly, what story have I been telling myself about their return? Because that story is what shapes everything. What you might feel if they came back tomorrow, your emotions would not likely arrive one at a time. They're all going to overlap. Everything's going to rush it. You might feel joy, relief, simply seeing their name again, hearing their voice, or reading their message. But alongside that, you might also feel anger about the time you lost, the silence, and what you endured while you were waiting. You might feel fear, especially fear of losing them again. And many parents feel something they don't expect. It's exhaustion. Because emotional adrenaline is real. I think it still affects me every single day. And I moved 5,000 miles away from them. I have a totally new life. They don't have a home that they grew up to come home to. I have a new home. So the kind of relationship that I personally would have with my kids would be telephone calls, Zoom calls, or FaceTime calls, text messaging. Is that a lot? Is that too much to ask for? How was your day? What did you do? How's your daughter? I did have something briefly with my oldest like that, but he never once asked how my day was or how I was feeling. It was all about him. And when I told him that relationships go two ways, he stopped talking to me again. Many parents feel something they don't like. Oh. Some parents cry immediately. I don't know if I would or not. Some feel numb. Some are kind of in shock because it's like, pinch me? Are they really here? Some feel calm and then later unravel as the shock wears off. All of this is normal. These are all reactions in our body from everything that we've been through over the last months, weeks, years. Well, many parents aren't prepared for. One of the hardest parts of reconciliation is what comes after that first contact. Think about calling somebody that you've known for a long time, And you talk occasionally, but not very often. And you hadn't heard from them for a while, so you pick up the phone and decide to call them. And you have a conversation. And maybe the last time you talked to them, you had a bit of a disagreement. But you picked up the phone and you called them anyways. Made your apologies, had a good conversation. But then what happens next? Who calls who? Who makes the next contact? The adrenaline fades. The old memories surface. Unanswered questions return. And the emotional weight of the past can suddenly feel very present again, because reconciliation does not erase history, it reopens it. Like a gallbladder removal. Sorry, that was a little graphic, wasn't it? But that's what I'm envisioning. Took it out, now they're putting it in. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just means that healing takes time. Especially this kind of healing, because this kind of healing it's painful. It's heart-wrenching. You've spent the last months, years, days, whatever the length of time, going through all the questions in your head. Crying, not crying, being mad, not being mad, accepting it, not accepting it. Like all the stages of grief. Where you are now, who knows? But it reopens it. And that doesn't mean something's wrong. It just means it's going to take time. They walk through your door, picked up the phone, sent you a text message. What would you say? After years of silence, days, weeks, I say years because this thing is built based on my history. And so whenever I say years, this applies to anybody that's listening, whether it's been days, whether it's been weeks, whether it's been months, whether it's been years, whether it's been decades. If you're estranged, you're in that category. Many parents feel enormous pressure to say the right thing. But here's the truth. There are no perfect words. You might want to say everything else, drip over your own tongue. How much you missed them, how much you hurt, how confused you felt. So now you're like bouncing off a wall. Now you are crazy. Or they're going to think you're crazy. Sorry, my hair's getting in my eye and bugging me. But often, less is stronger. Sometimes the most grounded response is simply, I'm glad you reached out. That leaves space. It leaves time in between everything that's going to fall out of you. It removes the pressure, takes away any anxiety, because now you don't have to perform. And it allows the relationship to unfold naturally instead of forcing it forward. Because, of course, we all want to get back to that same place, or at least be in the same place they are. I want to know my granddaughter. I want to know what she's doing. I want to know how her school is. I want to know who her friends are. I want to know about her extracurricular activities. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know about your new life. I want to know about your job. I want to know about this. I want to know about that. And they're just like, whoa, hold on. That's a lot. It's a lot for anybody. But here's something important, that even though we want to know all these things right away, that silence is okay too. If they walk through your door and they give you a hug, just hold on. Silence is also okay. You don't have to respond instantly. You don't have to say more than you're ready to say. Look at me. Wow. Reconciliation is not a race. What would you do? Reconciliation is not one moment. It is a process. If they came back tomorrow, you would not need to fix everything immediately. You wouldn't need to have deep conversations right away. You wouldn't need to solve every misunderstanding. And you wouldn't need to rebuild trust overnight. What matters most is pacing. Slow conversations. And I would be slow conversations intermittent with everyday questions or everyday activities, right? Like, you don't want to just fire questions at them one after another for a short period of time. It would be one question, go about your day for a little bit. Another question, go about your day for a little bit. I wouldn't bombard them with everything that's on your mind. And when they do come back, if they do come back, boundaries. What are they? Set them right away. On both sides, theirs and yours, and respect them. Emotional steadiness. If my sons were to walk through the door, I'd just start crying, I believe. But I can't, because the moment I started, they would turn around and walk back out. And I know that of them. I have to act as if it's just another day. They were here yesterday. They'll be here tomorrow. And today's no different. One of the biggest risks in reconciliation is rushing. When parents try to repair everything quickly, they often become overwhelmed, and the relationship becomes strained again. Slow is not failure. Slow is stability. What you need to be ready for. Sometimes they come back unsure of themselves. Should I be here? Did I really want to do this? Do I want to start this over again? It's kind of difficult to guess what they're saying, guess what they're thinking. when you really don't even know what your own mind is thinking. Sometimes they come back, they're guarded. Sometimes they're conflicted. And that doesn't mean that our reconciliation is failing. It simply means that they're human too. Simply, reconciliation requires emotional strength. And not a lot of people have emotional strength. Most people live moment. And when they're hit with a doozy, like this would be, it's kind of hard to control those emotions. But restraint is important. It's very important, especially if you want this to be successful. It requires realistic expectations. And most of all, it requires patience with yourself. Now, I think I told you on one of the other sessions that I missed that lineup. You know, when you're born, you get in line, you get green eyes, you get blue eyes, you get blonde hair, you get brains, you get no brains, you get a big butt, you get boobs, you get empathy, sympathy, all the different things that they hand out to you when you're born. Patience, I missed that line. I don't know why, but I don't have a lot of patience. And everybody that knows me knows that about me. Sometimes it's just learning to be better to yourself. They're not the only ones in the world. What was it? There's just saying, you're born on a certain date and you die on a certain date. And the only thing that matters in the middle is the dash. What you do with that dash, how you behave with that dash, how you act with that dash, things you accomplish, the things you don't accomplish. What does that dash in your life represent? It kind of would work in the same situation. You got estranged on this day and you're reconciling on this day. So in between those 2 days, did you become a different person? Did you grow any? Did you understand anything as to why it happened, what went on? Do you feel any empathy for them or yourself? Did you take any responsibility for anything that happened? Or accountability? What about that dash, the time in between? Journaling is a good thing to do when it comes to the dash, because if you write a sentence, the dash to me is, today the dash was, right? And all about being grateful for what you have now, even if they're not in your life. They were. You gave birth to them. Or dads, sorry. I'm talking as a mom. Dads were there as well. They're just as equally important as moms are. Moms come from a different perspective because we carried the baby, and dad kind of carried part of the baby, but the real human being that we know today, or knew as of our dissolution, no, dissolving of our relationship. I'm still stuck on dissolution. Doesn't matter. Anyways, if you're not an abusive parent, if you didn't physically, emotionally, verbally, psychiatrically, financially abuse your child, you didn't withhold the necessities of life from them, keep them in a stairwell box, you didn't keep them chained up, you didn't beat them every day, you loved them, you cared for them, you kissed their boo-boos, you went to school meetings, you went to the dentist, you were there when they were sick. You're a good parent. And you can look back on yesterday and go, what did I do wrong? Fact of the matter is, unless you were an abusive parent, you didn't do anything wrong. You gathered up your intel. What's all my information that I got to make this decision on? And you make a decision. Yes or no. It's a 50-50 shot of getting it. And I have said that same thing to my kids their entire lives. I'm not perfect. I will never profess to be perfect. But everybody makes mistakes. Everybody says something they wish they hadn't and wish they could pull it back, shove it back in their throat, or take the foot out of their mouth, whichever way you want to look at it. But you're not alone. You got to remember that. There are lots of us. And when I say lots of us, I know of 2 groups on Facebook that are in the thousands of members. Do they cross over? That I don't know. There's a lot of public groups, so if you're out there looking for a support group, don't go into a private group. Don't go into a public group. Go to a private group. There's Doormat Mom. She's fantastic. I can't even think about what the other one's name is, but it's got to be private. Because the one thing that I didn't know, and I learned pretty quickly, was that if you type in a private group or in a public group, something that you want to keep private, all of your friends on your friends list see what you wrote and what group you wrote it in. If timing all falls into place. In this particular instance, one of my friends, luckily, who knew what I had been through, or what we had all been through, commented on my comment. I don't know how many people that I don't really know, but are on my friends list, saw what I wrote. I couldn't even tell you what I wrote anymore. But it's not something we brag about. It's not walking up to some new friend and saying, hey, I'm an estranged mom. My kids hate me. We don't do that. Somebody asks me, how are your kids? Oh, they're fine. They're doing great. One's here, one's there, one's here. When did you last talk to them? Within the last month. They don't know any different. They don't need to know any different. That's my private business. if you're online in the chat, if they came back tomorrow, I want you to write this. If they came back tomorrow, the first thing that I would feel is blank. And write the word that you would feel. Or 2 words. But what's the emotion that would come to your mind? What do you think you would feel? And I know there's not a lot of people online, but it doesn't have to be now. It can be any time. What is the emotion that you would feel? I think my emotion would be nervous. Nervous and anxious. Nervous because I wouldn't want to say anything wrong. And anxious because I'm afraid that they'll do it again. And I don't ever want to go through that again. I don't ever want to be here again. I want to move forward in my life and be happy. And I'm sure many of you do as well. There's one thing that I want you to take away from this. It's this. Reconciliation isn't about perfect words. It isn't about fixing everything quickly. It's about presence and not gifts. Presence, being there in the moment. Patience, the emotional safety. Protect your heart. Protect theirs. And if this episode stirred something in you, sit with it, think about it, and then journal about it. How did it make you feel? And if you want to share it with me, put it in the comments. Go to the Facebook group. Share it with us. We don't know who you are. Your name could be Linda Smith. It could be John Smith. It could be Joe Blow. We don't know who you are. We don't know anybody that knows you. It is a safe space to talk and to get what you're thinking out of your head and written down. And sometimes when you write shit out, pardon my French, when you write it out, becomes less of a monster. And ask yourself afterwards what readiness really means to you. And this conversation actually leads directly into where we're going to go next. So tomorrow at 11 o'clock, same time every day, I'll be here. Come and join me. Keep me happy. Keep me company. Oh, we have a comment. Hold on. Let's see. Apprehension. Yeah, I can understand that. It's one of those things. Apprehension is kind of like, will this work? Will this won't work? It's have they grown up? Have they changed any? Do they have any empathy, compassion, anything like that? But where we're going to go next, Because once you start thinking about reconciliation, another question naturally will come up. What role is social media playing in estrangement and in healing? So Monday's topic is how social media influences estrangement. We'll unpack how social media can intensify distance, how it shapes, how it prolongs pain, and sometimes quietly how it softens it. So I look forward to seeing you all on Monday. I hope you all sign up, join, come and listen. I'm got to be saying something important in all these words. I hope I'm helping. I hope my experiences help shed some light on the experiences that you've had. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Monday. Let's talk about social media, because that's something that didn't exist 10 years ago. Have a great Sunday. The rest of the day is all yours. Ciao, my friends. I'm going to put up a post that has, here, let me put it up beside me. You'll see live stream new topics every day, 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Those obviously will change as we go through daylight savings times. Discussion is for family members who are estranged or alienated from other family members. Follow us on Facebook. I put a tiny URL because Facebook gives me this huge long string of characters, and I don't want to put that. But if you look for what does estrangement look like, and look for the logo right there, join the page. Come chat with us. Search for us. Become part of the community. And let's all get through this together, one way or another. You have a great day. Thanks again.